Welcome to the session on cloud computing and its application. In this session, we will see module 1 and name of the chapter is virtualization. We will start with the introduction to virtualization, why virtualization gained interest. Then we will see what are the characteristics of virtualization environment and some of the advantages of virtualization environment. Starting with what is virtualization? Virtualization is a process of running a virtual instance of a computer system in a layer abstracted from the actual hardware. In simple words, virtualization allows creation of secure, customizable, and isolated execution environment for running application even if they are untrusted without affecting the other user application. Next we will see why virtualization have gained interest. First point is increased performance and computing capacity. Nowadays, the average end user desktop PC is powerful enough to fulfill almost all the needs of everyday computing, and there is an extra capacity that is rarely used. Almost all these PCs have resources enough to host a virtual machine manager and execute a virtual machine with a far acceptable performance. That is one of the reasons why virtualization have gained interest. Second point is underutilized hardware and software resources. As we know that any commodity hardware or desktop PCs can run for 24 hours, 365 days without interruption. If I take an example of a desktop PC mostly used by an administrative staff for an office automation task are only used during the working hours, while overnight they are completely unused. Using these resources for other purpose after the working hours could improve the efficiency of IT infrastructure. This is the second reason why virtualization have gained interest. Third point is lack of space. So if you compare the companies like Google or Microsoft, they can expand their infrastructure by building a data center as big as footballs football fields. But if you talk about small IT industries, if they want to expand their data center, obviously there will be a difficulty for space if they want to increase the data center. In that case, this virtualization plays an important role. What they actually do is they go for server consolidation, that is clubbing n number of unused spaces of different systems to form one single system. So this is the third reason why virtualization have gained interest. Fourth one is greening initiatives. As we know, if the number of systems increases, uh, it has to be cooled accordingly. Okay, so the amount of energy they consume, and to reduce the carbon footprint, what we do is, sorry, I will get back to that same point. In greening initiative, what actually happen is the amount of energy they consume, and to reduce the carbon footprint, what the planning we can do is we can go for a server consolidation where n number of servers are clubbed together and we can reduce the number of machines so that the amount of energy spent on cooling those machines are reduced so that we can avoid much of carbon footprint to the environment. And the last point is rise of administrative cost. As the number of system increases, number of manpower is also increases. Through virtualization, we can reduce the number of systems so which is directly proportional to the manpower. So this is these are few reasons why virtualization have gained interest. Next we will see virtualization reference model. In a virtualized environment, there are three major components. One is the guest, second one is the host, and third one is the virtualization layer. The host is our actual physical hardware, and the guest is the instances of our actual hardware. The guest can also be called as virtual machines. And this middle layer, which is called as virtualization layer, can also be called as virtual machine monitor or hypervisor, is an intermediate between the host and the guest. By what is the use of virtual machine monitor is, it isolates individual guest virtual machines from each other. The VMM enables a host to support multiple guests running different operating system. So in our coming slide, we will be looking out different types of virtualizations like hardware virtualization, we have software virtualization, desktop virtualization, and many more. So next we'll look into what are the advantages of virtualization. First one is increased security. As I told you in the previous slide, the virtual machines are all the instances of the actual hardware. That is, the virtual machine represents an emulated environment in which the guest is executed, where the virtual machine manager can control and filter the activities of the guest, that is virtual machine, thus preventing some harmful operation from being performed in our actual machine. So it can be run in a completely isolated manner. That's where the through virtualization we can increase security. Next advantage is managed execution. Virtualization of the execution environment does not only allow increased security, but a wider range of features can be implemented. In particular, first one is sharing. Separate computing environment within the same host can be created. In the second diagram we can see aggregation, that is the reverse process of sharing. A group of separate hosts can be tied together and represented to guest as a single virtual host or a single machine. Third point we can say is emulation. That is, for instance, a complete different environment within this with respect to the host can be emulated, thus allowing the execution of guest requiring specific characteristics that are not present in the physical host. And the last one is isolation. Multiple guests to run on a same host without interfering separation between the host and the guest. That is, n number of guests can run without interfering with each other. Next advantage is portability. The concept of portability applies in different ways according to the specific type of virtualization considered. In case of hardware virtualization solution, the guest is packed with the virtual images can be safely moved and executed on top of different virtual machines. In case of program level virtualization, as implemented by the JVM or the .NET runtime, the binary code representing application components can run without any recompilation on any implementation corresponding to virtual machines.
Taxonomy of virtualization technique. Now in this particular slide, we will try to understand how is it done, what are the techniques used, and which are the virtual models. Basically, virtualization is done in two levels. One is the process level and the second one would be a system level. Process level, the technique used as discussed earlier is multi-programming, high-level VMs and emulations. The virtual models for emulation would be applications. For high-level VM, it would be programming language. For multi-programming, it is operating systems. System level, the basic virtualization model is nothing but it's with the help of the hardware, and it is classified, the techniques are classified into full virtualization, para and partial virtualization, as well as hardware assisted virtualizations. In future slides, we will try to understand each one of these techniques. Now, when an execution environment is virtualized at unlikely levels or in a different at different levels of stack, then it requires a reference model which will define the interface within the level of abstraction, and this level of abstraction hides the details of implementation. In short, let me try to explain you. The virtualization can happen in different level as we have discussed in the previous slide, that is either the process level or in the system level, but there is an interface between each of these levels. So in this particular slide, we will try to explain you different execution virtualization models which will help you understand how each layer or each level interacts with the above or its below level with the help of a interface. Virtualization technique can substitute any one layer and can intercept the call which are directed to it. That is why a clear separation within the layer can simplify their implementation. Next slide, let us try to understand a reference model. Look at this diagram. At the base layer, the model for the hardware is declared with the use of instruction set architecture. So what is this instruction set architecture? Instruction set architecture, or also called as ISA, defines the instruction set for the processor, registers, memory and interrupts management. It is an interface between the software and the hardware and is mandatory for every operating system. The operating system layer is separated by application binary interface, or in short ABI, from the applications and libraries which are managed by operating system. Let us try to understand what is application binary interface covers. ABI covers facts such as low-level data types and call conventions, and it also defines a format for many programs. Mainly, system calls are defined at this level. The next one is API. As you see in the diagram, API stands for Application Program Interface, is represented by highest level of abstraction. API interface applications to library and to core operating system. For an action, it is to be performed in the application level, API and the two which are responsible to make it done. So API and ABI plays a very major role. Mainly CPU runs on two privilege modes. One is the user mode and the second one is a kernel mode. User mode, in this mode memory access is restricted up to some limits, whereas access to peripheral is totally denied. Whereas in kernel mode, or it is also called as an admin mode, in this mode CPU has instructions which manages memory and how to be accessed, and it also has instructions which enables access to peripheries like disk and network cards. Instruction set architecture can be classified into privileged and non-privileged instruction. Now let us look at this one by one. What is an privileged instruction? The instructions which are executed under particular restrictions and which are frequently used for sensitive operations are known as privileged instructions. These, in the diagram shown in the next slide, it clearly shows that ring 0, that is a kernel supervised mode, uses these privileged instructions. The next one would be non-privileged instructions. Those instructions which can be used without interrupting any parallel task is called as non-privileged instruction. The reason being, the shared resources are not accessed. Examples are fixed points, floating and arithmetical instructions. Diagram, that is the security ring and the privilege mode, explains us the ring privileges. For example, it's been classified into 4 rings starting from ring 0, which works as a privileged mode and directly interacts with the operating system. The kernel makes use of this circle, so it is called as a privileged mode or supervised mode, whereas ring 1 and ring 2 are used for operating system level services. Ring 3 is where a user interacts and it is also called as user mode. The recent system support, ring 0, as discussed earlier, is called as a supervised mode, and ring 3 is called as a user mode. Hardware level virtualization. Let us try to understand what is hardware level virtualization. A platform virtualization approach that allows efficient full virtualization with the help of hardware capabilities, primarily from the host processor, is referred as hardware-based virtualization in computing. In short, the whole hardware is virtualized using a hypervisor or a low-level program which acts as a virtual machine manager, or we also call them as virtual VMs, virtual managers. There are two types of hypervisor. The first one is hypervisor 1 and hypervisor 2. In the next slides, we will try to understand what are these. Abstract execution environment. in terms of computer hardware in which a guest operating system can be run, referred as hardware level virtualization. In this, an operating system represents the guest, the physical computer hardware represents the host. With the help of virtual machine manager, or also called as VM, the resources which are required the resources which are required by the virtual machines or the guest operating systems are interrupted, and the facility is provided through the virtual machine manager to the guest VMs. There are basically two types of hypervisor. The first one being hardware based hypervisor 1 and hypervisor 2. Let us try to understand what is hypervisor 1 or type 1 hypervisor. It runs on the top of a hardware, that is a virtual machine manager runs on the top of a hardware. That is why they take the place of an operating system. They interact directly with the instruction set architecture interface and exposed by the underlying hardware. So all the facilities which a virtual machine or a guest virtual machine requires from an hardware is provided by the virtual machine manager, which directly runs over the hardware. Now this is called as type 1 hypervisor. In slide, that is, we'll try to understand what is type 2 hypervisor. To provide virtualization services, the support of an operating system is required. The program managed by operating system in which interacts with the type 2 hypervisor through APIs or emulates the instruction set of virtual hardwares from the guest operating system. In short, let me try to explain it this way. We have an host which has an hardware and its own host operating system. In type 2 hypervisor, a virtual machine manager is set above the operating system or above the host operating system, and all the guest virtual machines will be running on above the virtual machine manager as shown in the diagram. Now these VMs can have different operating systems. So the difference between type 1 and type 2 hypervisor is, in type 1 hypervisor, the virtual machine manager directly runs on the host hardware, but in type 2 hypervisor, the virtual machine manager, that is VMM, runs above the host operating system. There are basically three major properties of a virtual machine manager should satisfy. First one would be efficiency, the second is resource control, and the third one is equivalence or equality. Now let us try to understand hypervisor reference architecture. What is this hypervisor reference architecture? Or there are three main modules of this. The first one is a dispatcher, the second one is an allocator, and the third one is an interpreter. What is a dispatcher? The dispatcher behaves like an entry point of the monitor and reroutes the instructions of the virtual machine instance to one of the other two modules. That is, whatever instruction and virtual machine has generated first reaches the dispatcher. It understands the instructions and then reroutes it either to an interpreter or an allocator. Okay, now let us try to understand what is an allocator. Allocator is responsible for deciding the system resources to be provided to the virtual machine instance. That is, it helps the virtual machine instances to get its resources. It means whenever a virtual machine tries to execute an instruction that results in changing the machine resources, or I can say the host resources associated with the virtual machine, the allocator is invoked by the dispatcher. The third one is nothing but a interpreter. The interpreter module consists of interpreter routines. They are executed whenever virtual machine executes in a privileged mode. In the next slide, clearly depicted an instruction which comes from the virtual machine and trap occurs and it is received by the dispatcher. These instructions, the instructions desires to change the machine resources like load reallocation or bound register or any other instructions are called as privileged instructions and are sent to the allocator, whereas the instruction which does not change the machine resources will be sent to the interpreter in as shown in the figure. Virtualization requirements were introduced by Gerald and Robert Goldberg in 1974 in terms of three theorems that defines the property that an hardware instruction needs to satisfy in order to have effectively or efficient virtualization. Application of instructions or instruction set architecture are done into three different groups. The first one is the privileged instruction, those that trap if the process is in user mode and do not trap if it runs on a system mode or also called as supervised mode. Control sensitive instructions, those that attempt to change the configuration of the resource in the system, that is your host system. Third one is behavioral sensitive instructions, those behavioral or result dependent on the configuration of the resources, for example reallocation of register or the process. These are the three categorization or different groups of instructions which were formed to understand which will help us understand the three theorems which we will discuss in the next slide. The three classification or three groups of instruction, that is privileged, control and behavior sensitive instructions, there are three theorems which we will discuss. The first theorem or theorem 1, for any conventional third generation computer an effective virtual machine manager may be constructed if the set of sensitive instructions for that computer is the subset of the privileged instruction. The theorem states that to build an virtual machine manager or VMM, it is sufficient that all instructions that could affect the correct function of VMM or sensitive instruction always trap and pass the control to the VMM. This theorem also provides a simple technique for implementing VMM called as trap and emulate virtualization, or more recently called as classical virtualization. Let us look at the diagram. Let me try to give you an example. The sensitive instructions, as discussed in the statement above, the sensitive instruction, that is the innermost circle, is always the subset of the privileged instruction. On the left hand side circles, you will see that the sensitive instruction is fully a subset of the privileged instruction, whereas in the right hand side you see the sensitive instructions is partially a part of the privileged instruction. So as per the theorem 1, all the sensitive instruction should be a subset of a virtual instruction, and hence all the virtual machine traps which are occurred because of a VM will automatically get executed, and this is a classical example for virtual machine manager theorem 1. Let me try to illustrate this with an example. Let's consider hardware, a host hardware and a host operating system above it. The third layer which we are going to put is an virtual box or a virtual machine manager. Now the point 1 states that the host operating system should be virtualizable. So yes, in this case it is virtualization. Now what does this theorem states? If the point 1 is true, that is if the host system is virtualization, in this case, yes, we have used a virtual box. We will try to we will try to add one more virtual box or a virtual machine manager within the virtualization layer. Okay, now the constraint over here is that there should be no time dependency. Okay, the reason being the innermost virtualization layer will have many instances developed on it or instance generated on it. These instances will interact with its VMM, and thereafter the inner VMM will interact with the external VMM, which is hosted on the host operating system. So there is a time gap, and the point number 2 says it very clearly. If this time gap is not an issue, then theorem 2 stands true. Let us try to understand what is theorem 3. There is no much difference between theorem 1 and theorem 3. In theorem 1, we said that a VMM may be constructed if the set of sensitive instructions for the computer is a subset of the privileged instruction. That is, on the left hand side you can see that all the set of instructions are subset of the privileged instruction. But in theorem 3, it is as I said, it's similar to theorem 1. It is a hybrid virtual machine may be constructed for any computer or any machine in which the set of user sensitive instructions is the subset of the privileged instruction. In the earlier one, it was all the instruction. In this case, it is just a user sensitive instruction. This is theorem 3. Hardware virtualization technique. The term refers to the scenario in which the hardware provides architectural support for building VMM. So there are basically 4 types of hardware virtualization technique which we are going to discuss. The first one is hardware assisted, full, para and partial virtualization. Let's talk about hardware assisted virtualization. It is hardware assisted virtualization is the use of computer's physical component. For example, its hardware, its storage, etc. to support the software that creates and manages virtual machine. In this case, the software is virtual machine manager. First, hardware assisted virtualization, the best example is IBM Systems 370, which started in 1972. Presently, Intel VT, AMD VMware virtual platforms are few of the hardware assisted virtualization. The second type of virtualization technique is full virtualization. Full virtualization is a virtualization technique used to provide a virtual machine instance that completely simulates the underlying hardware. In this type of environment, any software capable of execution on the physical hardware can run in virtual machine, and any OS supported by the underlying hardware can be run in individual VMs. Users can run multiple different guest operating systems simultaneously. In full virtualization, virtual machine simulates enough hardware to allow an unmodified guest OS to run in isolation. Let us try to give you an example. For example, an operating system development experimental new code which is yet to be released can run at the same time as an older version, each in a separate VM. What does this mean? That on an hardware, any software, in this case it might be a virtual machine manager, is operated, and experimental operating system code or a newly built code can run on it without interfering with the actual functioning. The hypervisor provides each VM with all services of physical system including a virtual BIOS, virtual devices, virtualized memory management, etc. The guest OS is fully disengaged from underlying hardware by virtualization layer. Full virtualization is achieved by using combination of binary translation and direct execution. If you see in the diagram on your right hand side, user application, there is a direct link between user app that is in the ring 3 and the host hardware. Direct executions of user request can be done over here. Also, there is a link between guest operating system, VMM and host hardware. This happens with the help of binary translation of operating system request. With virtualization, hypervi full virtualization hypervisor, the physical CPU executes non-sensitive instructions at native speed. Operating system instructions are translated on the fly and cached for further use. The diagram clearly shows that the hypervisor runs in a ring 0 authority, that is the privileged mode, whereas the guest OS is in ring 1 and binary translation is used for conversion of guest IS instruction set architecture with two host instruction set architecture. The advantages are complete isolation, enhanced security, ease of emulation of different architecture and coexistence. The second type of virtualization is para-virtualization. Para-virtualization is the category of CPU virtualization which uses hypercalls for operations to handle instructions at compile time. In para-virtualization, guest operating system is not completely isolated, but it is partially isolated by the virtual machine from the virtualized layer and the hardware. In short, each guest operating system knows that there are coexisting guest operating systems along with it. Different operating systems can work on this, but it has to be modified in order to run. To communicate with the shared hardware devices, as discussed earlier, each guest operating system is modified with is modified and they raise an command which is called as an hypercall. These hypercalls can then be can be of memory management or process management instructions. The guest OS which is not modified cannot operate in para-virtualization. For example, in this particular diagram, para-virtualization instructions of guest OS is delivered to hypervisor by using a hypercall. You can see in the left hand side. Hypercall handles these instructions and accesses the hardware and fulfills the requirements of the guest OS by returning the results. Guest has authority to directly control the resources. Advantages are guest OS is aware of demand and less load on the hypervisor. Now, in this particular slide, let us try to differentiate or let us try to understand the difference between full and para virtualization. In full virtualization, virtual machine permits the execution of instructions with the running of unmodified operating system in an entire isolated way. Whereas in para virtualization, VM, that is virtual machine, does not implement full isolation of the OS, but rather provides a different API which is utilized when operating system is subjected to alteration. Full virtualization is less secured when compared to para-virtualization. Full virtualization uses binary translation and direct approach as a technique for operation, while para-virtualization uses hypercall at the compile time. Full virtualization is comparatively slower when compared to para-virtualization. Full virtualization is more portable and compatible, whereas para-virtualization is less. Example of a full virtualization, we can say Microsoft on parallel systems, whereas example of a para virtualization is VMware and Zen, which you are going to see in the coming chapters. When entire operating system cannot run in virtual machine, but some or many application can, it is known as partial virtualization. Basically, it particularly simulates the physical hardware of a system. Address space of virtualization is the key form of para-virtualization. Okay, in operating system virtualization, the virtual machine software, or we usually you guys call it as VMM. In this case, let's call it as virtual machine software, installs in the operating system of the host. That is, it is installed within the operating system of the host rather than directly on the hardware. So there is no use, or we will not be using any hypervisor or VMM. The most important use of operating system virtualization is for testing the application on different platforms or operating system. The virtualization is has set on a single OS. OS kernel allows multiple isolated user space instance like admin, user 1, user 2, etc. Good for server consolidations. Few of examples are also listed below. About application level virtualization. Application virtualization is no longer a new concept. Countless organizations are making the best use of this technique or this application virtualization to support remote offices, which help them cut costs associated with setting up a temporary office and to transform the way their business deliver to the end user. Application virtualization delivers apps to the user's computer independently of local desktops without having access to the application on the physical devices. Individual Individuals use this application virtualization to prevent compatibility issues when installing a new app across network for numerous reasons or numerous users. Application is an essential component of a complete desktop virtualization strategy, and it applies to cloud migration services, both software and hardware, servers and storage. Server based approach. Benefits of application virtualization, it's listed here. You can kindly go through the slide. It's going to give you the benefits of application virtualization as discussed during the flow. The next one, programming language level virtualization. The best example for this is Java Virtual Machine. What is this programming language level virtualization? It is mostly used to achieve ease of development. In short, for developers, the developers use this as a development of application for managed execution and portability across different platforms and operating system. It consists of virtual machine executing the bytecode of the program, which is the result of the completion process. The other type of virtualization, we will not discuss this in detail, but it's storage virtualization. The best example for this is storage area network. You have a subject which you are going to learn about this. We already know what is network virtualization, the concept of VLAN, and the well-known desktop virtualization. is also discussed earlier. It's a client server approach. Thank you. The last topic of this module is virtualization and cloud computing. We will explain in depth about each of these topics in future modules. Primarily, hardware virtualization is nothing but infrastructure as a service. Program virtualization stands for platform as a service, and server consolidation is aggregating virtual machines. What is live machine migration or live uh, migrations? Virtualization technology changed the way the data center of enterprises utilize their server resources. Instead of using a dedicated server for each type of application, virtualization allows viewing resources as a pool of ununified resources, thereby reducing the complexity and easing the manageability. Server consolidation technique, which deals with reducing the number of servers used by consolidating applications is one of the main applications of virtualization in data center. In the diagram above, what you see are two images. One is before migrating and one is after migrating. You see there are two servers, each server with dedicated virtual machines which are underutilized, and after migration what we see is the load. It's a load balancing technique where an underutilized server is totally utilized by live migration and consolidation of the server, hence making the best utilization of the resources from the pool. So let's conclude this module by understanding the pros and cons of virtualization. Basically, the pros of virtualization: it reduces IT cost, capital expenditure saving, a huge capital expenditure saving, operational expenditure saving, data center and energy efficiency saving. Okay, the upfront cost is high, that is one of the cons. Effective resource utilization is is the pro. Now let us try to list out what are the cons of virtualization. As I said, the upfront cost is hefty. Not all hardware or softwares can be virtualized. There is a performance degradation, inefficiency and degradations. User experiences, users may not be that comfortable with virtualization. Security and other new threats might emerge. This completes the module 1 and virtualization topic. Thank you.